but I was never gonna walk away from you just because you're in this tunnel. And I know that some men really go down like this deep rabbit hole. Um, but then that's when love shows up. This is Vivian Velasquez.
And this is Raul Vilaces.
Welcome to the God, Money, and Purpose podcast.
Welcome to the God, Money, and Purpose podcast. My name is Raul Vilaces, and I'm here with a beautiful co-host.
Vivian Velasquez.
And today we have a Q&A, and we also have a topic: how to let go of toxic relationships.
That was
So
hard.
that's the question
That's
that kept on
tough.
coming back over and over again: how to let go.
Yes, and if you're just tuning in, we're welcoming any questions that you have. We usually answer them the following week, and we just have been having a little going back and forth and like really fun conversations about all this stuff because it brings up so much of stuff that we have been through, and it just, it allows us to think like how we handled it and how it was the best way for us to do it. And not to say that this is going to be the best thing for you, but this is what has worked for us. And Raul and I have been married over 20 years, and I think every year we learn something new, and there's always new surprises, and there's always new things that we learn about each other. And I think that's really what relationships, should be about, just evolving and trying to understand each other.
Yeah. So if you're watching us for the first time, welcome to the show, and welcome if you're hearing us from in iTunes, podcasts, everywhere out there. If you're following us right now live in Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, just share a comment. Let us know where you're watching us from. Let us know if you have any questions. If you want to send us a private message with questions, we also will keep your questions private.
Yes, we won't say the names.
And let's get in it. Let's get in the show. I
Yeah.
think let's why don't you read that question?
Sure.
So we could
Sure.
address it.
Okay. So this is a question from last week. And it says, I'm just getting familiar with your content, and I had a question. When you were going through the tunnel, the dark transitional period of your life, I think that's what you called it, the tunnel, did you and your wife end up splitting up, and did you have to win her favor again? Or did she stick by you and had to iron out the wrinkles in the relationship? I guess that's one question. Then the other one, he says, what was the dynamic period like for your relationship? I went through this space with my long-term girlfriend at the time, and she said some really nasty, disrespectful things at the end of the relationship. A part of me believes of letting her go because I don't tolerate disrespect for any reason, and I began to see her as a fair-weathered friend versus a ride-or-die partner. And so we're split up for now, and he's still a bit torn in how he feels about it.
So that's a great question. That's a great question. So let's address first what the tunnel is. If you're familiar with my content, you know that we talk about going through a transition period, going through a route of passage. I call it the tunnel. Many people out there call it midlife crisis. I believe that's not a midlife crisis is a myth. I believe that midlife crisis is the route of passage for a man or a woman to.
I think it's a crisis for us when the men are going through to the tunnel.
Yeah, it's part of crisis for the other partner because
it's a lot.
They have to take in a lot of the energy.
Yeah.
But from my experiences, the moment that I went through a midlife crisis is when you start doubting who you are. You lose certainty. So as a man, you lose certainty, you lose confidence, you lose purpose, and you kind of like an empty shell sometimes. Like we don't know where to turn.
Right.
And we are in what I call the neutral stage. You're not moving forward, you're not moving backwards, you're just neutral. You're just going with the flow.
So you're questioning everything. Like you're questioning your manhood almost.
I wouldn't say questioning your manhood, you're just questioning your purpose.
Questioning purpose.
And that's where you start looking for other things to excite you. That's when you start maybe trying different businesses. You burn your business to the ground, you sabotage your business. Maybe your fares, you look for excitement somewhere else, or buy expensive toys or buy different things. Just from my experience, it's more of we're looking for fulfillment from the outside, not necessarily looking at fulfillment from the inside. Because all our life into that point, we probably got some praise and appreciation from the outside. The moment that's not longer enough in relationships, especially like the honeymoon period is over, and it's not enough, then you start looking at who am I? What am I bringing to the table? What's my purpose here? What's the deeper meaning? And I think that's what came through for me is like, I'm going through this tunnel. I'm going through the transition, whether I know it was a transition, I thought it was a crisis.
Yeah.
Why I wasn't happy, what wasn't I fulfilled, what wasn't I energized anymore about my business, about my life. And now that I think about it even more, and as I continue to go deeper, is borderline even depression. Sometimes you get depressed, and as leaders, as entrepreneurs, sometimes we don't acknowledge that we could get depressed.
Right.
We think that we shouldn't get depressed. We think we shouldn't feel this way,
Or you don't know how to handle it.
and we don't know where to turn.
Yeah.
We don't know who to turn, because if we tell people that, man, I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling like I don't have my shit together, we feel like we are weak. We feel like we're not, we're less than.
Okay.
And we've been positioning ourselves so long as men to have it all together, that the moment that we don't have it together, or
Then it's like, oh my gosh. the
then
end of
that
the
becomes
world.
a crisis.
Oh my God, I just feel hot just even thinking about it. You know, like we in a relationship, we make so many mistakes. And I think this is one of the biggest one that we could have made. And Raul and I, like I said, we've been married for 20 years. And at no point we've always had an agreement that we were never going to say the D word. We were never going to say the divorce word if we weren't going to go through with it. So I don't think that ever came into play. But when he was in this transition, or the tunnel as he calls it, it's the way that I look at it now is a very sacred place for a man to be, because that's the place where like you are questioning a lot of things. Like, this is the place where like you have so many questions in your head and your heart, and then this battle of everything, right? Like the way that I saw it, you were sick, you get physically sick, your body is trying to tell you stuff, and now like me looking back, it's like you went through so much. But here's the other thing, like how I felt was like that this tunnel that the men go through is there's only space for one person, and that person is you. Like you could go in there alone. So the fact that I felt like, well, I want to go in there with you, like let me try to help you, let me try to like hold your hand from a mothering, loving perspective, was like almost like, well, I need to do something. And then when I felt like I couldn't go in there with you, then I felt like, well, what about me? I was looking at myself, right? The princess in me came out and wanted the attention. I wasn't even thinking about you until you stayed there too long, and it had me question myself, like, what if he doesn't come out of this? And that's another thing, right? So I think just moving a little forward to when he says about the question that he felt disrespected, I think a lot of it has to do with us women not knowing what men are going through. And at that time, I didn't know what you were going through. And the only way that I could get you to wake up or to see me is to disrespect you, because then that kind of like gets you angry and gets you to come back out of there. But like I said before, this is a sacred place for you to be in. Like this is a place for you to like really take your time and ask your questions and honor your body and honor your time, because at that time I remember like you were really sick, you were going through a lot of pains in your stomach, and that was part of like the questioning and like, who am I?
So then when you don't acknowledge the pain or the stress, it manifests into the body. And what I was going through is a manifestation in my physical pain. So then it was emotional pain, and then it became a physical pain. And that's what drove me into finding a solution. That's what drove me to really look at what's really going on. And I think that from understanding from the woman's perspective is you're looking at a man who's dormant, looking at a man who's probably sedating himself, just like I was drinking every single day to sedate the pain,
especially when you're not used to it.
Then you start questioning, like, do I want to be with this guy? Is this what's going to be like? And that's where I think there's a thin line, when we address this question, is understanding where the guy is. So I'm already putting myself in his shoes. He's saying did we split up? I think we didn't get divorced in a sense of legally, but we were disconnected. So might as well being divorced, might as well being in different worlds, because we were disconnected, right?
You were disconnected, but I was never going to walk away from you just because you're in this tunnel. And I know that some men really go down like this deep rabbit hole. But then that's when love shows up.
But let me challenge you on that, because here I truly believe that if I didn't shift, we would have ended up being divorced. because I don't see you putting up with my shit like for long.
Not
So
for
like,
long, but then there comes like our, as women, like our wisdom to really like almost like extract. That's how like the way I look at things now is like godly woman, right? Because I'm going back to God's word, it's like I'm not manipulating for you to be what God created you to be, but I'm at that moment like I wanted to extract it out of you and like for you to see the
but
greatness
was
in
it
you.
your job to do that for me?
No.
That's why I didn't feel like you were trying to extract it.
Well,
I felt
in the
when
tunnel
I was
you're
going through
alone.
the tunnel, I was alone.
Yes, you're there alone.
So then in that mindset is more like I need to figure this out, right?
Yes.
But where I'm going with his question is like he's looking at a toxic relationship, saying that she was there only for the good times. I want to flip that back to him and saying the toxic relationship was him, because he was being toxic. Because when a man is in the tunnel, we have a toxic energy. So I don't know his partner. There's always two sides of the story, right? His the partner.
Yeah.
But I know his story, right? He's telling us that he's in the tunnel.
Yeah.
I know for a fact every single man that's going to the tunnel, we're toxic. So
Yes,
that's what
'cause
I
you're
know.
taking care of
That if
yourself
I wasn't if I
there.
continue to be in that tunnel, if I continue to be a toxic, have a toxic energy, you and I wouldn't be together, because
Okay.
you would have realized, okay, I can't help him. I'm not his mother.
Yes.
That this is his world, his situation. So
Yeah.
then it's just a matter of time that a woman owns herself too. That we're not there to provide the space for them, because a man has to go through it, and that's where
Yes.
I think a lot of relationships get confused. That a woman is supposed to help the man, and the man is supposed to know. It's like how do you get rid of a toxic relationship? You stop being toxic
yourself.
like
Yeah.
you have to end your own toxic relationship with yourself,
Yes.
so then you could start helping the other partner heal herself or go through that process herself. Because that's exactly what happened with me. Like the moment that I started owning my shit,
Yeah.
I said, okay, it's not about Vivian. I can't blame my family. I can't blame everything. I have to take care of myself.
Yeah.
And then you started punching me in the balls, saying, okay, what are you doing? Then at the end, it didn't make it about me. I knew that, okay, you had issues to deal with, but I still had issues to deal with myself.
Right.
So I had to work on my issues before I even look at your issues.
And I think maybe that's what you even start going in the tunnel, is because you already start to face the issues that you have. So then you go through this transition to know like, okay, what it is that I need to change. But like, again, like I'm saying, like you are there by yourself. There's things that you need to process. But at the same time, like if you're in a relationship, if you're just listening to this, like if you're in this relationship, I would say like at least is honor that time and space for the men, because that's something that we as women, like we want the attention all the time. And if men are not giving us that attention, then it's like, then we start to be disrespectful and dishonoring to men. And this is the time, like for men, I feel, especially like with you, what I've learned is like honor and respect is everything for you. And when I honor you and I respect you, I think that's how we've gotten so far, is because I've learned to honor and respect you more. Even when you were in there, even when you were not showing up, even when you were the man that I know that like that was not you, and I didn't understand it then, but there was something in me that I knew you would come out, because there's also a possibility that you may not.
100%.
I didn't.
And that's the key here. That's where, when we have to have you have to know who your partner is.
Yes.
You have to have this belief, and that's where God comes into place, because God puts people in the
Yes,
same
I was
place
like praying over you for you to come out of there.
for growth, right?
Yes.
For growth, and I've coached men through divorce as well.
Yeah.
And I see, before maybe you would ask me this question, maybe 5 years ago, I would have had a different answer. Now, from experience of coaching men who had marriages and they try to work hard, and I
Yes.
vouch for my guys when I say like, this guy's trying to work hard, but they were not a fit. And it's not that the woman is wrong or right.
It's
Is that
just
when
not
we
working
get
out.
together, we are a certain version of ourselves.
And then you will start to
Then
evolve.
you start to evolve and start to
Yes.
change.
Yes.
And what you used to like before, you don't like anymore. And what you used to tolerate, you don't tolerate anymore. And I always turn it around into business. It's like when you start a business, you fall in love with the business, and as you grow on a scale, it's different problems and different challenges. You have to evolve. To build
Yes.
$1 million business. It takes a certain type of man or woman to go from 1 million to 5 million, a complete different man or a woman. From go from 5 million to 50, it takes a complete team and a different type of mindset. Same thing with marriage. First 5 years, then 10 years, then 20 years.
The problems
Like we're in a stage
change
right
and
now
evolve.
that is have a complete different mindset. I
Yes.
truly feel like this stage of our lives now is more of a deeper connection that we
Totally.
have
Because of all the stuff
because
that
of the
we've
stuff
gone
that we've
through.
gone through, of all the things that we've battled through, right?
Because we, thank God that we didn't give up. And I'm not saying that you don't have to give up, but here's the thing, like for me, like the more that I ask God is like, this is like my purpose now. It has maybe nothing to do with you, but I'm like, divorce would end or the rate would come down if we would just tough it through. And I know that's kind of hard even to say it because a lot of people are like, well, what about my happiness? And I'm all for it. But at the same time, if I only thought about my happiness, we wouldn't be here.
And I have a different perspective on that, on how like men look at relationships. Is more of, if you already seen this sign, because I bet you, if you talk to this guy right now and send an email, I bet you there were signs.
Yes.
There were signs that somebody
Yes.
doesn't
because
doesn't
you
just-
didn't question when you were in the tunnel. You didn't question if I was like your ride or die girl, right? Like you knew that already, because even though I wanted to kill you in the past and we fought and like we had so many disagreements, at least until you went into the tunnel, you knew that I was your ride or die.
But there was a time where I
Answer
thought,
the question.
I feel like I'm gonna try here. What, do you believe that or not? I believe that you were ride or die. You were gonna be
Okay,
with
thank
me.
you. Thank you.
But here's a but. I felt
No,
like-
and-
I felt like I didn't show up at the level that you deserve. So therefore, I
Yes.
wouldn't have blamed you if you'd have said, you know what, Raul, you didn't live up to my expectations, so I'm gonna bail out, and I wouldn't made you wrong for it. I actually expected that when you're in the tunnel, you expect the worst. Then you're like, okay, you know what? She's gonna leave me. I'm gonna lose my business. I'm gonna do all this, and that's where the energy, the toxic energy, is created because we manifest that into reality. Men who are in the tunnel right now, there's guys who are sabotaging their relationship, their business, and their health because that's all they're focusing on right now. So
Right.
now, when you start looking outside, it's like it's not your business fault, it's not her fault, it's you.
Yes.
You're the one who has to shift. So the moment that you shift the energy,
Mm-hmm.
then you could discover is that woman my ride or die girl or not, or now okay, you come at me a certain way. I'm not going to tolerate that. So therefore, let's have a conversation of how.
And that's
easy to
that's
happen.
perfect. And I think like for some men, not for everybody, but the ones that we've talked to, you're in the tunnel, and when you figure this shit out and you go through like all this transition, right? You come out of this tunnel and you come out, at least the way that I saw Raul, he was like so clear and so determined, and there was so many things that you would no longer tolerate, like being disrespected, like being dishonored, because it kind of like became
But
a
it comes from a
priority.
different energy.
Right.
So look, when a man's in the
Yes.
tunnel,
Yes.
it's like if you disrespect me, I take it personal. Like who do you think you are?
Out of
You're not
anger.
gonna treat me like this.
Out of anger.
And then the energy is combative.
Yes.
When a man comes out of the tunnel and the woman is respectful, you don't take it personally because you know it's not about you. You just and as to the point that I even have seen this. I've seen this in the guys that I coach.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the moment they come out of the tunnel and the woman is respectful, they're like, it doesn't trigger me anymore.
Right.
Because I know it's not about me. So then what they do, now the woman goes into the tunnel, and that's where they realize, you know what, I'm not in love with her. I love her, I'm not in love with her. And that is the part where I see women not sticking it out with their man, because that's the part that when I see from your perspective is like, if you don't stick it out when he's at his worst, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna be able to reap the benefits when he comes
at his
out and he's at his best.
Because I feel like, okay, when what I saw with you, what I experienced with you is like you were in this tunnel, you come out, and that's this part of the version that you talk being a king. At least that's how I took it. Is like when you come out and you came out with a different energy, a different demeanor, different ideas, different vision, and it was clear and it was expansive and it was loving, right? And it was also like very affirmative almost, because there was a lot of things that we had done in the past that you made very clear to me, like I will no longer tolerate that. And for me it was a shock, but at the same time I was like, okay, yes, this is what you needed, so I'm gonna take it in. And there was a battle in me to say like, well, who the hell does he think he is coming out and now he's a king? But that only brought me confrontation to like, what do I need to do now? You
Yeah.
know, so then that's a whole nother thing, a whole nother question. But I just, you know, like again, going back, it's like it's such a sacred place for men to go through. And I would say like you're saying, like, don't get stuck on the energy of being negative, but get on the stuck on the, not stuck, but get involved in the energy of like how, what needs to change, what in me needs to change for the better version or for not, and come out and be honest with that.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing, like, okay, he's come out of this tunnel if he came out, and to still be in that relationship, it's not a relationship that you want to be in. If you already feel it, it's not a relationship that you want to be
So
in.
here's what happens, and that this is a great way to understand, like, how we as men, we want to be comfortable, and we
Settle.
make the tunnel our permanent state, because now we tolerate that and we say, you know what, I'm just going to accept it. I'm just going to, yeah, you know, she might be a bitch, but at least, you
She's
know,
there.
she's my
At least she's
woman.
there.
At least she's there, right? So we
Yeah.
settle. Same thing with women. We tolerate, so we lower the energy, we lower our
Yeah.
expectations, our standard, and then we wonder why we're not happy, because we are lowering the standards with ourselves.
Yes.
So now we're doing just enough in our relationship to not piss anybody off, but not take it to the next level either. So in the business world, money is more of you're doing just enough just not to lose clients,
Yeah.
but you're not out there to expand your business.
So you're just good when you could be great, and
And not even if not even good, you're neutral.
yeah,
You're neutral.
you're just riding by.
You're riding by. So
every
10
day.
years, 20 years go by.
It
and
doesn't
then
make a
just
difference.
And then the separation gets even
The
deeper,
disconnect.
And then disconnect. And now the tunnel becomes your personal
Yeah.
place.
And that's not a good place to live in, the tunnel. I think you should just think of it like it's a sacred place that you enter in. It's not a place, it's not a home, it's not your castle, it's not your kingdom. Like, you have to make the choice to come out and either deal with the consequences or come out and just be the highest version that God created you to be.
Yeah. So let's give him some insight. So let's just call this guy John, all right? We're not going to say his name.
John
So
Doe.
John, advice for you would be, you know, number one is maybe she wasn't the one for you. Like, maybe right now is a blessing. Maybe, you know, this woman is exposing some of the things that you need to work on.
Yeah.
You are the toxic relationship right now. Why? Because this is the data that we have.
Yeah.
A man who's going through a tunnel is toxic. You know, if you're going through a tunnel, you have an energy about you that you're not attracting the right woman. A man who's going through a tunnel cannot attract a woman that's going to be a queen. So, John, what you need to really start looking at, how can you work on yourself? How can you use this pain of maybe being alone and make this pain turn into fuel so you can learn more about yourself? Find what your passions are. Find what your purpose is. Find, you know, what you want in a woman, what you want in a partner. Same thing with you, woman. If you're going through a tunnel right now, like, it's a perfect time for you to work on yourself. If you want to attract the man or the woman that you want in your life, you have to become that person. Ask yourself, who do I need to become to attract that person?
Yes, and that's how it was for me. Like, when you were in the tunnel, that's a perfect space for a woman to be in. Instead of, you know, disrespecting, nagging, and just looking for answers, because right now is not the place that you will get answers. Like, this is like the worst place for you to ask any questions, because you will not get an answer.
Not if questions that come when it comes to blaming.
Or any questions,
Like-
because right now you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah, this is not a time for you to start looking at somebody else's fault. The tunnel is where you start working on yourself.
Yeah, and I think the challenge comes because with women, like, we want connection all the time, right? So then when we
All
feel
your
that,
main answers from from your
so
man.
then when
Okay,
we
yeah,
feel
yeah,
disconnect,
yeah.
it's like, okay, well, I need you. Can you answer this? Me, and like throwing all these things at the men, but it's like it's not working out because right now it's not the time for that. And for me, that's like a vivid picture that I always tell women. If your man is in the tunnel, just allow them the space to be sacred, and the only thing that you could do is pray and know that God created this man for something greater, and for us even to believe in that. It's like a little
say that
seed.
the one thing, the fuel I think that man will go, like, that we need, is somebody to believe. Like if you woman believes in you, fuck, like we will do more,
Yes.
and we'll move the world if the woman that we love believes in us.
Yes.
And I think that's one thing that a woman if could do for a man is not compare him to, oh, look at what this guy's doing, and look how
Yeah.
great this people are doing, and look how this, what can we be like them?
Yeah.
That's the wrong energy to bring in. More look at the things that he's doing and praise him and believe on him and help him remember all the good things that he's done in the past. That's one thing.
Appreciation is a key to
It's
the
like
man.
oxygen. It's
Yes.
like oxygen.
Appreciation and honor. And I think that it takes a lot for us women to do that because, like I said, like when you come out of the tunnel, I think, you know, from what we talk to so many people, it's like the men come out and the wife, the partner of this long-term relationship is not there, then that's when they go to look for someone else that would actually praise them and honor them instead of, you know, the wife, the partner that had been there before, to actually try to understand him of what he was going through and be there and appreciate that he actually came out. We take a wrong turn, or we're not there at the moment because we are, you know, dealing with our own demons. And then this is when the problem comes
Yeah.
with the divorce and other problems, right? And that's the part that it hurts me, you know, because we could have made that mistake.
And that's where we have the awareness
Of
that
what
you
can
go
you
into
do?
a process, and this is not going to last forever.
No,
So,
hopefully not.
you know, to wrap this up, it's been a great conversation. To wrap this up, if you're in a toxic relationship, you have to look at yourself, because
Yes,
you might be
always.
the one bringing the toxic energy to it. The second thing, if you identify yourself as going through the midlife crisis or going through the tunnel, if you're a man, you have to realize that most likely your woman is not there to help you. Your woman is there just to hold the space for you, if that.
And if
Like-
she's not,
and
it only comes from a place of fear because it's so unknown.
Yeah, and don't put that pressure on her. Her job is not to fix you. Her job is not to be
No.
your mother. Her job is just
Thank you,
to be
yes.
your lover. So then you have to figure shit out on your own. You have to
Yes.
you have to look at where you are, and the best thing is just be around other people that have gone through it.
Yeah.
There's associations, masterminds, groups of like-minded men
Yeah.
that could have this type of conversation. I think that's one of the best things that we've created, is being able to
Yeah.
have a community where it says, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy.
Yes.
And woman, if your man is going through this midlife crisis, just be patient.
I would say just
Be
be
patient,
patient,
and,
loving, honoring, take care of yourself. This is a perfect time for you to really ask questions that pertain to your own self-love and what it is that you could do to better yourself and remember the best version of yourself, and you know, learn about your own.
And the same thing with women. Get
desires.
around other women that have been through this situation but didn't end the relationship, because what happens is you tend to be with other women and say, yeah, I left his ass because he wasn't doing this, and then all of a sudden you think that's the answer.
Well, that's what we
Like-
have God.
Like we're not saying to stick
Godly
with him
advice.
if he is toxic. I'm saying use your insight, use your gut feeling, and see if he is going to go. If you believe in him, can he move past this?
Yes.
And not just believe in him, tell him that.
Mm-hmm.
Tell him that, and see how that changes. Just be patient. Like 20 years of marriage, 30 years, 40 years of marriage.
You're still
you
learning.
Think, you think it's a long time, but it just
You're
goes
still
by like
learning,
this.
and you're still learning. And I think that's a beautiful thing to end on. I think always know that there is something new to learn about each other. There is always something new to learn about each other. You become curious enough, and instead of blaming and treating each other as an enemy, just replace that with like, here's another chance that I get to love him.
And the beautiful thing to our relationship is that we're here to expand each other and grow. Today I got some news from one of my coaching clients. You know, he just got divorced 6 months ago. He was in so much pain because he didn't have this awareness, and now he's dating, and he found somebody that could love him the way that he wants to be loved, and now he's giving himself a chance to really not make the same mistakes that he made in the previous relationship to the next one. So even though this relationship may not end well for John, let's call him John,
Okay.
it's a learning experience.
Yes.
But having a negative feeling, thinking it was her, is the wrong lesson. It's always you.
Yes.
It's always you.
Yeah.
So thank you for following us. Thank you for sending us
Watching.
your questions. Keep
Yes.
sending us your questions. Keep sending us
Yes.
your comments, and follow us everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Follow us everywhere except for our bedroom. So we keep it private. Until next time, learn it,
Live it, experience it. Love life.
If you received any value from this conversation, comment, subscribe, and share as we continue to impact more people and take it to the next level.
And please send us your comments and questions so we could answer them in the next podcast.
See you in the next episode.